If you want to find out the season-ending stats, award winners, Pro Bowlers, and see who wins the Super Bowl without watching the hour-long video, click the link in the description below to watch the recap of it. Enjoy. So boys, we are back with some more Redskins franchise mode here in Madden NFL 19. Last episode was that Giants game where we lost 35-25. Now we're 5-7-1 in the NFC East. It's not looking good for us at all wildcard-wise, as pretty much this season looks to be over when it comes to our playoff hopes. So the next couple weeks we're facing off against the Jaguars, Titans, and the Eagles on our way to the end of the season, and yeah, not looking good for us at all. We're pretty much done here when it comes to the season. So back up the season, as we do have our top offensive lineman, Trent Williams, now on the IR pretty much. At least he's out for the season pretty much. 3 weeks he's out with broken ribs. Robert Kelly's still out for 4 weeks. He's out for the season pretty much. And yeah, it's not looking good for us at all right now. So we'll go and take a look at our scouting, because that's one thing we have to do before we do anything else. Scouting wise, we got to go find some players for the offensive line this draft. Most likely find a guard or two. It'd be good for backups. We got to find a lot of backups right now in this draft, because our team is, when it comes to backups, we usually have old ones that are like low 70s and not that much good of value. Whereas we need to get some younger ones with a little bit of value just in case we want to make some trades at all. But guard wise, we've scouted the majority of the guards. It's not looking that good for guards in this draft for the most part. Like, we have a few good ones in the top, but those guys will be picked by the time we pick later on. But we'll get the rest of these guards here in the left and the right, and the rest seem to be undrafted. So when it comes to guards, we have like 5 left guards in the draft and about like 6 right guards in the draft that are actually worth something. Then when it comes to tackles, there's a lot of tackles actually for the most part, so that's good for us. So go and scout the rest of these dudes and see if there's any gems later on in the rounds, because there might be a few guys with some good potential later on. We'll go and find some left tackles now, just in case. Finish off this with the points, and there we go. So we're done with scouting for this week. Now we should probably sim to the next week and see how the division's shaping up right now with these games. So Eagles won, they're 9-4, 8-4-1 Cowboys, 7-6 Giants, and 5-7-1 Redskins. Might as well take a look at the NFL right now as a whole and see how it's shaping up there. So the Patriots already clinched in the playoffs. They're 10-3 on the season, and it's not looking. Let's see the bottom of the NFL actually. See how our bottom teams are doing. So the Colts 3-10, 3-10 Bills, 3-10 Panthers, 3-10 Vikings of all teams. That's really surprising. 3-10 Bengals, 4-9 Titans, Redskins 5-7. We're 24th. Let's see what the Seahawks are. They're 15th, so they're doing not bad. 7-6 in the NFC West. We'll see the West actually. See how they're doing in the West. So the Rams are 10-3. They're 7-6. Cardinals are right behind them at 6-7. So that's kind of close right there. They are in a 3-game winning streak, so they're doing pretty good right now. Hopefully hopefully they start losing the next couple weeks, so their pick gets a little bit more value. But right now they're doing not bad. Take a look at the NFC as a whole and see how it's doing. We're probably near the bottom. Yeah, we're 24th right there. We're not that far off from the Seahawks overall in the NFC. Let's see the AFC. So Patriots obviously number 1, 10-3. Chargers are 9-4 in the season. 9-4 Steelers, 9-4 Jaguars, who we're facing off against this week. 8-5 Raiders. And at the bottom, 3-10 Colts, 3-10 Bills. So the Jags, right now, they're 9-4. They're a very good team. They have the GOAT of all players, Blake Bortles at quarterback. So we got a game plan for him. Even though our season's over, we might as well just have a little bit of fun with it. Blake Bortles won at 1 pick, 1 touchdown last game, 204 passing against Marcus Mariota. They did lose, so you never know if you could sneak a W against them this week. At this point, I just want to lose out so our pick has a little bit more value at the end of it, but our team is not bad. We can maybe sneak a W or two against some of these teams if they just underestimate us. But Leonard Fournette there, 53 yards. Deion Lewis, 45 against them. That's all I want to see receiving yards wise. Who's their top receiver? They have D.D. Westbrook, that's right, 54 receiving yards in that last game. They also have Keelan Cole there at 51 yards receiving and a touchdown. So watch out for those two dudes there receiving-wise, and Leonard Fournette at the running back position. So they're facing us, then the Dolphins, and the Texans to end off the season. I want to take a look at one last thing. We'll take a look at the news and see how it's shaping up there right now. So there doesn't seem to be much of anything for top stories right now. Darius Slay, Defensive Player of the Week. Who else? See my story. See how the Redskins are doing in the headlines. Right now, it's saying to erase the memory from last week of that game, and I want to do the same thing too. 3 interceptions against Philly. Yeah, it's not really that much different from what I thought it would be. Draft stories. Looks like Notre Dame quarterback Landon Hilliard can trace his roots back through football history. Okay. And that seems to be the only draft story so far in the entire season. That kind of sucks, actually. I want to see some storylines, but they have nothing this season at all, basically since it is a real draft class. So next season, we'll have more storylines through the draft. But transactions-wise, anything happened so far with releases or anything like that? Got Troy Nicholas, Dimitri Flowers signed. Jameson Crowder was re-signed. That's right, we did sign Jameson Crowder and Preston Smith last couple episodes ago. Trey Quinn was put to the practice squad in favor for Jeremy Hill to play. Let's remember that. And that's about it. So, we play the Jags this week. Might as well just sim that one and see how well they do against Blake Bortles. So, as predicted, we do lose that game 17-7 against Blake Bortles. Our team did not do well at all again, as actually Alex Smith, 277, 0 picks, 0 touchdowns, not bad for him. Cody Kessler, -6 against us offensively. Blake Bortles, 201, not the greatest overall game for Blake Bortles, actually. He didn't play that good, only 58% completion percentage, whereas Alex Smith at 77. Rushing-wise, did Geist do well? He only had 22 on 12 attempts and a touchdown, not good at all compared to last week. But Yeldon at 42 for them, and Leonard Ford at 58 on 16 carries and a touchdown. Then receiving yards wise, Doxson actually had 112, leading the way there on 11 receptions. 100 for Marquise Lee, 64 for Jamison Crowder, 50 for Paul Richardson, 36 for Austin, 32 for Jordan Reed. They got to use Jordan Reed more on the simulation games, actually. He's very effective in those when it comes to receiving. But then sacks allowed, our newest, at least the backup left tackle up 2 sacks. That's Ty. And 1 for Andrew, 1 for Brandon Sheriff, and 1 for Moses again. Moses is always letting up sacks constantly. It's so annoying. But defensively, we had 12 tackles for Zach Brown, 10 for Miles Jack for the Jags and a sack, 9 for Dunbar, 9 for Telvin Smith, 9 for DJ, 8 for Josh Norman. Let's see some sacks here. So sacks-wise, Calais Campbell there had 2, Miles Jack had 1, Dayron Payne had 1, okay. 1 for Dante Fowler Jr., and that's about it. Interceptions-wise, no picks for either side. And then kicking-wise, Lambeau had 1 for 1 for the Jags, no attempted for Dustin Hopkins. Punting-wise, 4 for 184 for Tress Way, and 4 for 198 for Logan Cook. Kick return-wise, nothing there. Punt return-wise, nothing there as well. So overall, game sucked. 17-7, low-scoring game. Not that great overall for TV or for entertainment. But the last few games we have is against the Titans and a home game against the Eagles. So the Titans facing off against Marcus Mariota. Let's see how their season is shaping up as right now. I don't know if they're doing well or not. I assume they are, but we'll see. Actually, they're not having a good season at all either. They're 1, 2, 3, 4. They only have 4 wins on the season so far. So maybe you might get lucky and win this game. And they somehow won against the Jaguars too. It's 21-10. So they're not that bad, I guess. But they lost against the Giants. They're 29-10. So the Giants create even more separation in the divisional matchup. And then they're facing off against us this week. I want to see their game against the Giants. How they lose. So Marcus Mariota, not a good game for him. 180 and a touchdown and a pick. 68.2 passing rating. Eli Manning danced all over them. 233, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Rushing wise, 58 for Saquon in that game. 35 for Deion Lewis. 20 for Derrick Henry. Okay. Receiving yards wise, Malcolm Mitchell, 114 and 2 touchdowns against them. Then Delaney Walker at 67, 58 for Rashard Matthews and a touchdown. And that's about it for them. Let's see their defense. Who stepped up big for them in defense? Wesley Woodyard, Kevin Byard, 7 for Rashawn Evans. Okay. Is there any sack machines on that team? And Jarrell Casey had a sack. Any picks? No picks, that's right. So the Titans, we might be able to win against them. I don't want to win against them because I want our pick to get even more value. But we'll see how that shapes up as we face off against Marcus Mariota and the Titans. Oh, and Trent Williams is cleared to play, but I don't want to play him at all because I don't want to rush anybody for injuries. So we'll go and just leave him to be right now because we want to lose anyway. So we'll leave Ty in as our backup as the start for this week for Trent. And then we'll see how healthy he is next week. Another week, another L as you lose against the Titans, which is good for me because we're slowly sinking down. Our pick is collecting some value there, collecting a little bit of value as we lose. So that's good for us as we lost 21-7, but I want to take a look at some more developing for our players. So our prize center we acquired in that trade with the Colts, Braden Smith, has an upgrade available. So maybe we can upgrade his. He's got power, he's got agility, and pass protector. So who should we upgrade for that? We should probably upgrade agility just to base off of our scheme. So when you upgrade agility, he still sticks at a 74 overall, but now his agility is a little bit better. And then we also have Jamison Crowder there at an upgrade as well. So we could upgrade position, deep threat slot, or red zone threat. We could probably go with catching does upgrade when you do slot. We'll do slot. So Jamison Crowder now at 84 overall, or 85 overall, sorry, matching up against his buddy Paul on the other side. Darius Geis is having a confidence issue right now, though. That's a problem right now. So his confidence is at 40, which is affecting his overall, which is not good for us because we need Geis at 100% if you want to try to actually win week in, week out. But Geis not having a good issue right now with him. Then Trent Williams is back from injury this week. On defense, anybody upgradable? We have Zach Brown. Okay, he's got an upgrade. Cool. So Zach Brown probably upgrade. He's got his pass coverage, field general. That does upgrade tackling with each of them. We'll do pass coverage. Zach Brown sticks at 88 overall, but his pass coverage is better now. Then Monte Nicholson there at an upgrade as well too. So Monte's got zone hybrid run support. We'll probably go and upgrade. He's got zone coverage upgrade right there. We'll do hybrid. So now he's at a 76 overall. Not bad. Not bad for Monte. So Monte's slowly getting up right there when it comes to overall. Any backups at all that need some upgrading, because there could be a backup or two that gets an upgrade right now. It looks like nobody needs an upgrade right now, so we're fine with that. So the Titans games, second last game of the season there, we lost 21-7. Doesn't matter at this point, we're done with this team for year one, but Marcus Mariota, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions against us, 295 through the air. Alex Smith had 210, a touchdown, 0 picks for 89.2 passing rating. Then when it comes to rushing wise, Darius Geis had 46 on 13 attempts. Dion Lewis had 46 on 14 attempts, and Derrick Henry had 43 on 9 attempts. Receiving yards wise, we had 109 for Tywan Taylor there against us and a touchdown, 68 for Rashard Matthews and a touchdown, 58 for Jordan Reed for us and a touchdown. Our receiving leader of the day, Corey Davis there 55 and a touchdown, 54 for Delaney Walker, 47 for Geis, and so on. Blocking wise, we let up sacks, 2 for Ty on the left side. At least he's not going to be playing anymore as Trent is back. Defensively, we had 11 tackles from DJ, 10 for Zach Brown, 8 for Quentin Dunbar, 7 for Orlando Scandrick, 7 for Kerrigan, 6 for Monte Nicholson, 6 for Norman. And the team leader for the Titans actually was Rashawn Matthews there with 6 tackles. Then sacks-wise, we had 1 sack from Kerrigan, 1 sack from Rashawn, 1 sack from Morgan. Picks-wise, we had no picks in that game. Kicking-wise, we had 0 kicks for field goals. Punting-wise, 4 punts for Dressway for 200 yards, 50 average on the punt, and nothing kick return and nothing punt return-wise. So we have one last game this season, and that is against the Philadelphia Eagles of all teams, as defending Super Bowl champs. So this game is automatically an L in my book, so we end off the season with a 5-game losing streak, it looks like, to go and propel our pick to, let's see what's projected right now. Our pick is slated to be 9th overall right now, so I'm happy with that. We get a top 10 pick, it looks like, right now, as long as we lose against those Eagles. We better lose this week. We could always put in backups, but I don't want to do that because that's like throwing the game pretty much, and I don't want to do that at all. So we'll just leave in the players that we have right now. I think we could lose with those players anyway, so it doesn't really matter in the end at all to me. But taking a look at that, we have a lot of tight ends in this draft, actually. way more than normal actually in a NFL draft. So a lot of tight ends. I don't need a tight end, but just kind of pointing that out. Left tackles, we'll go and scout the rest of the left tackles, see if there's anybody good in the later on rounds, like the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds. One thing I kind of want to do is pick up some later on picks, like a 4th, 5th, or 6th round pick, and see if we can find any magic with that, because you can find some decent low to mid 70s players with some potential later on in the drafts, most likely. So maybe go and do that this year with some players. Left guard, we scouted most of those guys. Center, same thing. Right guard, same thing. Right tackle, we got the majority of those dudes pretty much, because the 7th round guys won't be anything special at all either. So we're fine so far with just scouting. We have one game left. It's against the Eagles. The Eagles are very good. They're in our division. They're leading our division, I think, at 11-4. Are they? Yep, they're leading at 11-4. Cowboys are 10-4-1. 8-7 Giants, and the 5-9-1 Redskins. So I don't believe we'll reach our wins goal for the season. I think it was 7, because that's the lowest you can go. So we did not reach our wins goal this season in year 1. So year 1 for us is over. We lose our last game of the season and end off with a 5-game losing streak against the Philadelphia Eagles. So we sign all our practice squad players as it's the end of the season. Doesn't look like there's any upgrades for our starters right now on defense, but there is actually one. Josh Norman, we'll upgrade him first quickly. We'll upgrade his man-to-man coverage. Now he's an 88 overall, not bad for Josh Norman. As we end off the season with ideally what I wanted to happen, us losing a lot of games so we get a good pick. So you have a top 10 pick, it looks like right now. Is take a look at the NFL standings at the end of the year. So Patriots top of the league, 13-3 record. They won the NFL this season. 12-4 Eagles, not far behind. 12-4 Rams, 12-4 Jags, 11-5 Falcons, 10-5-1 Cowboys, 1 loss and a tie against us. Just pointing that out. 10-6 Saints, 9-7 Chargers, 9-7 Packers, 9-7 Giants, 9-7 Seahawks, but they did not clinch the playoffs as they are out of it. But Steelers 9-7, 9-7 Ravens, 8-7-1 Browns, and they actually made the playoffs. So the Browns back in the playoffs again. Jets are 7-7-2, 2 ties on the season. 8-8 Lions. All the teams did not make the playoffs right down there. But the Redskins, we did finish 26th overall in the NFL, and we have a top 10 pick, which is really good for us because we wanted that overall in year 1. But the teams below us were the Bucks at 5-11, 5-11 Bengals, 5-11 Bills, 4-12 Vikings of all teams, 4-12 Panthers, and the 4-12 Colts. Some teams that are pretty surprising are the Vikings that are 4-12. I thought they had the talent to go and maybe be one of the better teams in the NFL this season. And even the Bucks, I thought they had good enough talent to go and do something too. But I guess Jameis did not have a good of a season to go and get the Bucks some W's. And even the 49ers 6-10, I thought they'd be maybe 8-8, but I guess not for this season. Then when it comes to the NFC, we'll take a look at that, see how worse or how terrible we were this season. And we're near the bottom there. The Buccaneers, Vikings, and Panthers only below us. AFC-wise, at the bottom was the Colts, obviously. They're at 4-12, and 5-11 Bills. So right now, let's take a look at the playoff schedule, see how teams shape up so far in year 1 for their playoff matchups, as the wild card is this week. So wildcard teams, the Browns and the Chargers go at it, Saints and Falcons, Ravens and Steelers, Cowboys and Packers. So I'm guessing maybe the Browns will win this one. Actually, the Saints will probably pull out the W in this one. I'm thinking Steelers in this one and Packers against the Cowboys, just for the heck of it. Let's see if my predictions are right. But before we do anything, we got to take one last look at our last game of the season. And that was that 23-16 loss against the Eagles. And Alex Smith actually played not that bad. 251 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Carson Wentz, 174, 1 touchdown, 1 interception there. And a 65% completion percentage, along with Alex Smith the same. Rushing wise, 101 for Jay Ajayi there and a touchdown. 58 for Geis, 28 for Darren Sproles, and 19 for Jeremy Hill. Receiving yards wise, who led us in that category? That was Paul Richardson there at 92 yards receiving, 65 for Jameson, 47 for Alshon Jeffrey and a touchdown, 37 for Josh Doxson, 33 for Nelson Aguilar, 33 for Zach Ertz, 26 for Darius Geis, And that's pretty much about it. Only Jordan Reed had 19 yards receiving on 3 receptions. Pretty poor right there for him. Blocking wise, I'm guessing Moses probably let up a sack. And guess what? Another week, another Moses sack let up. That man is a problem right there on the offensive line. I'm thinking of getting rid of him. But Jason Peters had 1 sack, and Trent Williams another sack in his first week back. Defensively, 9 tackles there for Jordan Hicks, 9 for Monte Nicholson there, 9 for DJ, 8 for Gary, 8 for Zach Brown, 7 for Chris Long, 7 for Kerrigan, and so on. Sacks-wise, Jonathan Allen there with 1 sack, Michael Bennett with 1 sack, and half a sack for Jordan Hicks and Chris Long. Picks-wise, 1 pick from Zach Brown that game. Pretty much, I think he'd be our defensive MVP this season, and I think Alex Smith would be our offensive MVP this season when it comes to offense. But just pointing that out right now. Kicking-wise, 3 for 5 for Justin Hopkins there, 60%. 45 yards was the longest field goal he attempted. And what did he miss from beyond? He did miss 1. Let's see. 2 from beyond 50. That's what he missed. Okay, that makes sense. Punting-wise, Tressway, 2 for 86, and 3 for Brad, and that's 132 on the game for him. Kick return-wise, nothing much there at all for us. Punt return-wise, nothing much there either. As we won week 1, came off strong there, 30-13 there in the opener. Then after week 1, it was kind of a mess as we lost against the Colts and the Packers going into the bye. After the bye, we lost the heartbreaker against the Saints. Then we won against the Panthers. The Cowboys, they would believe they're like 5-1 at that point when we faced them. So they were a very good team, very good game for us in that one as we pulled off that tie. Then we lost against the Giants there in a heartbreak by 1 point. Lost against the Falcons. Then we had a 3-game winning streak that are going strong. Maybe looking like we could sneak in, but the Bucs, we won against the Texans and the Cowboys again in that heartbreaker for the Dallas Cowboys. Then we lost big against the Eagles, and that pretty much propelled the end of our season there as we lost against the Giants, Jags, Titans, and Eagles again to lose off the season. So that season pretty disappointing for us, but I wasn't planning on having anything big happening in year 1, so it pretty much went all according to plan when you think about it. So take a look at stats overall for year 1 for the Redskins franchise mode. So Alex Smith there, 3,911 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 18 interceptions for a 63% completion percentage. Not bad, as he had more touchdowns than picks. But Kevin Hogan there had 154 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 42% completion percentage, and his passing rating was 123.2, whereas Alex Smith was 86. Not bad for a starter. He was sacked 40 times overall in the season and played 16 games. And yeah, rushing yards wise, Darius Guy's impressive rookie season, I'd say. 9 out of 30 yards rushing there, 8 rushing touchdowns, and 3.5 yards per carry average. Not bad for him. He had an average of 58.1 yards rushing every game. Robert Kelly there, the backup, 128 and 2 touchdowns for 2.8 average yards per carry and 1 rushing fumble. Then we had 94 for Jeremy Hill, 43 for Alex Smith, and 2 touchdowns. And that's pretty much about it right there for rushing. Receiving yards wise, we didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver, but we had one close to it at Jordan Reed with 963 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns for an average of 60.2 per game. Then Jameson had 820 and 4 touchdowns. 740 for Paul Richardson and 3 touchdowns. 429 for Josh Doxson and 3 touchdowns. 415 for Vernon Davis and a touchdown. 628 for Geis and 0 touchdowns. Robert Kelly had 220 and 4 touchdowns on the season. 104 for Eli Rogers, the backup. 60 for Sprinkle and a touchdown, and that's pretty much about it. As Quick at 40 on 2 receptions. Touchdowns wise for receivers, Jordan Reed led the way with 6. 4 for Jameson, 4 for Kelly, 3 for Richardson, 3 for Doxson, 1 for Vernon Davis, and 1 for Jeremy Sprinkle. Blocking wise, TJ Cummings let up no sacks, same with some of these backups. But the first starter that did not let up a sack was Braden Smith there. 0 sacks let up. He is our rookie wonder there at center. He did very well in year 1 for the Redskins for the limited time we had him. Then Ty let up 4 in the limited time. Brandon Sheriff let up 5. 5 for Luke. 10 for Moses. And supposedly our best overall offensive lineman stats-wise, or at least overall-wise, Trent Williams there let up 12 sacks in year 1. Not good at all for him. So Morgan Moses, with stats like that, he's pretty much on the trade block for us. Then Trent Williams there, not looking good for him, as 12 sacks for supposedly our top offensive lineman is not good enough for me. Defensively, Zach Brown, our defensive MVP, 156 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 2 quarterback sacks, 2 interceptions, and how many fumble recoveries? He had a lot. He had 6 forced fumbles and 2 fumble recoveries, not bad for that. Then, when it comes to the rest of the defense, DJ Swearinger there had 101 tackles and 5 tackles for a loss, 0 sacks, 1 pick. 98 for Orlando Scandrick there, 3 tackles for a loss and a sack. Then 88 for Dunbar, 0 sacks. 79 for Ryan Kerrigan and 7.5 sacks, 0 picks. 71 for Josh Norman and an interception. 65 for Pernell McPhee and an interception. 60 for Monte Nicholson. 49 for Zach Vigil and an interception. 49 for Foster, 47 for Ioannidis, and 2 sacks. Then, who had 2.5 sacks? Jonathan on there, 44 tackles, 2.5 sacks. Daron Payne, 30 tackles, and getting his last sack near, I think it was week 16 or 17. He got this first sack of the season, and as an NFL player. Then 28 for Calvin Pryor, 21 for Fabian Moreau, and a pick. And 17 for Everett, and that's pretty much about it. I'll just go down to the bottom. Who led us in sacks this season? That was Ryan Kerrigan, leading the way with 7.5 sacks, 3.5 for Pernell McPhee, 2.5 for Jonathan Allen, 2 for Zach Brown, 2 for Ioannidis, and 1 for those players right there, and half a sack for Zach Vigil. Then picks-wise, who led us in picks this season? And that was Zach Brown there, 2 interceptions, and the rest have a lot of ones. And then, did anybody have any touchdowns this season defensively? I don't believe he did. We had 1 safety count for Norman, Allen, and Daron Payne. Then defensive touchdowns. We had 0 defensive touchdowns this season for us. But downs played, who led us in that? And that was DJ. Then in second was Zach Brown. Kicking-wise, how did Dustin Hopkins do in year 1? And I don't think he did well at all. He had a 61% field goal percentage. That is not good at all. 8 for 13. Longest was 50 yards out. It was actually beyond 50. He's 63 yards in that one gameplay episode, but I don't know why they're not counting that. But who else? He had 23 extra points made. Then what else? That's about it right there. He attempted 5 from 50 yards out, 4 he missed. That's pretty much the reason why his percentage is in the toilet, is because we attempted beyond 50 a lot in the simulations. But then punting wise, we had 55 punts for Tressway, 2,551 for him on the season. Then kick return wise, we had Myrick there, 864, 0 touchdowns, whereas Eli Rogers at 394 and a touchdown, and Marshall at 131. Punt return wise, no punt return touchdowns, but Jameson Crowder 201 and Myrick 45 yards. Then that's pretty much it there for our stats for year 1. So year 1 was disappointing, but Alex Smith, 10th overall NFL yards passing, 28th in passing touchdowns. Darius Geis, 11th in the NFL when it comes to rushing yards, 11th in rushing touchdowns, and 10th in carries. Jordan Reed, 16th in receiving yards, and that's pretty much it for our major players. A lot of stats were pretty much about average to bottom of the league in pretty much everything, so we weren't that good this season. But weekly awards, we'll do that first, see if there's any more Redskins that made it. And we had Zach Brown in week 6. Then I don't think we had any more actually. Yeah, we didn't make any other teams at all. So Zach Brown only one player of the week so far, for at least one player of the week and week 1. So Zach Brown, the only player of the week this season for the Redskins. But yearly awards, who won MVP for the league? And that was Tom Brady there. 13-3 record, MVP once again. Zeke was 2nd, 3rd for Carson Wentz in that category. 4th is Matt Ryan. 5th is Russell Wilson. 6th is Drew Brees. 7th is Le'Veon Bell. 8th is Todd Gurley. 9th is Big Ben. And 10 was Devonta Freeman. And Coach of the Year, Griffin Murphy, a.k.a. Bill Belichick there, winning Coach of the Year again. Sean McVay in 2nd. And we're definitely not on there at all in that category. But NFC-wise, Offensive Player of the Year was Zeke. Then Matt Ryan is in second, but there's no no Redskins in that. Defensive Player of the Year was Deion Jones from the Falcons. Second is Sean Lee. Bobby Wagner in third. But actually, Zach Brown 10th there for the Redskins in Defensive Player of the Year. Not bad. Then Offensive Rookie of the Year. Darius Guice just edged out from Saquon Barkley as Saquon Barkley wins Rookie of the Year, at least for the offense. Saquon is second. Third was Christian Kirk. Fourth was John Kelly. Fifth was Calvin Ridley. And that's pretty much about it. Then Defensive Rookie of the Year was Roquan Smith there from the Bears. Second was Jair Alexander. Third was MJ Stewart. And Daron Payne in fifth. Not bad at all for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Best QB, Matt Ryan won that. No Alex Smith in that category at all. Best running back was Zeke there from the Cowboys, obviously. And Guice was 7th, but somehow Barkley was 10th. So how is Guice ahead of him for best running back if Saquon won Offensive Rookie of the Year over him? So that doesn't make any sense. So Guice is the better running back in year one, yet Barkley was the better overall offensive player. So I don't know how that really shapes up, but somehow Barkley is in 10th and Guice is in 7th. Best wide receiver was Doug Baldwin. Mohamed Sanu Sr. was second. Taylor Gabriel was third there from the Bears. And no Redskins in that one. Best offensive lineman was Zach Martin from the Cowboys. And there was no Redskins in that one. Best defensive lineman, Chandler Jones from the Cardinals. And no Redskins in that category. Best linebacker was Deion Buchanan there from the Cardinals. And then there was Zach Brown in 5th. Not bad at all. Then best DB was Tavon Wilson Sr. from the Lions. And no Redskins in that category as well. Best kicker was Matt Prater there from the Lions. And Dustin Hopkins not even close to making that category. So for AFC, I'll just go through that quickly right there. So Tom Brady, Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year was CJ Mosley. Offensive Rookie of the Year was Josh Allen. Defensive Rookie of the Year was Tremaine Edmonds. Best QB was Tom Brady. Best running back was Le'Veon Bell. Best wide receiver was Julian Edelman. Then best offensive lineman is David DeCastro. Best defensive lineman is Khalil Mack. Best linebacker CJ Mosley. Best DB was Derwin James. And best kicker was Zane Gonzalez, 64 overall from the Cleveland Browns. Wow. Edged out Justin Tucker too. So he's a pretty good kicker, I guess, for even 64 overall. But that was pretty much for year one for the awards and such like that, and our year-end stats. So Tom Brady MVPs, we'll take a look, we'll sim the wildcard week and see who moves on to the divisional round. Wildcard, Cleveland wins 31-9 over the Chargers. Atlanta won against New Orleans 28-21, close game. Pittsburgh destroyed Baltimore 24-6, and Green Bay won 33-21 against the Cowboys. So I predicted all of them right besides that Saints game, but hey, you can't win them all. Then, divisional round, you have the Browns and the Patriots matching up, Packers and Eagles, Steelers, Jags, and Falcons, Rams. Actually, I want to see the stats of this Cleveland game. I want to see how Baker Mayfield played against the Chargers. So, actually, Baker did not play there. 210 for Tyrod Taylor, 3 touchdowns. Great game for Tyrod in that game. 1 for the Browns. 96 for Carlos Hyde in the ground, and a touchdown for him. Receiving yards-wise, anything from Jarvis Landry, and there was 71 yards from Jarvis Landry in that game. 55 from Josh Gordon. Defensively, anything big. Michael Kendricks there, 11 tackles. And that's about it for the Browns. Then the next game, I want to see the Saints and Falcons game. So the Falcons won that one as Matt Ryan, 292, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Drew Brees, 293, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Kind of weird to see him throwing that many picks, but rushing yards wise, 59 for Tevin Coleman there, and a touchdown. 40 for Alvin Kamara, 37 for Devonta Freeman, and 15 for Mark Ingram. Receiving yards wise, 116 for Cameron Meredith, and 3 touchdowns on the day for him. Wow, he got used a lot in that game. And that's pretty much it there for receiving. Defense, 10 tackles for Patrick Robertson, and 10 for Von Bell. So the Falcons win that game, but then the Steelers destroyed the Ravens. How did Big Ben play? 246 and a touchdown, whereas Lamar Jackson lost that one with 169 and a touchdown. Rushing wise, 91 for Le'Veon Bell and a touchdown, 34 James Conner and a touchdown, and 36 for Alex Collins. Receiving yards wise, 131 for Le'Veon Bell and a touchdown as well. So huge game for Le'Veon Bell, over 200 yards all-purpose in that game. Great for him. And then James Washington 72, Juju had 26, and that's about it. Then the last game, 33-21 Packers in that game against the Cowboys. Aaron Rodgers 280 on the day there. Aaron Rodgers 280 on the day and 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Whereas Dak at 252, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the game. Rushing yards wise, 84 for Zeke, 78 for Ty, 34 for Jamal Williams and a touchdown. Receiving, Randall Cobb at 74, Eric Tucker 71 and 3 touchdowns on the day. Then Cole Beasley at 69 and 67 for Allen Hurns and 2 touchdowns. Whereas Terrence Williams at 39 and a touchdown as well. So let's go sim the next games, the games for the divisional, which is the Browns, Patriots, Packers, Eagles, Steelers, Jags, and Falcons, Rams, and C moves on to the conference. So the Browns lose out there 28-20 against the Patriots, heartbreaker there in New England as the Browns lose that one. Then Philadelphia won 24-17 over to Green Bay, and then Pittsburgh won 31-28 over Jacksonville, and then LA won 38-31 over Atlanta. Let's take a look at this Browns game, see what went wrong for Tyrod and the Browns. So Tyrod 246 and a touchdown, Tom Brady 266 and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions for both quarterbacks. Rushing yards wise, 110 for Carlos Hyde and a touchdown, 75 for James White and a touchdown, and that's about it. Receiving yards wise, 89 for David Njoku, 79 for Rob Gronkowski, and then who else? 75 for Julian Edelman, 47 for Jarvis Landry, and that's about it. Then, oh yeah, and Des Bryant had, what is it? He had 19 on 1 reception for a touchdown. Defense, 9 tackles for Demarius Randall, who led in sacks in that game, 2 for Dante Howtar, and then 1.5 for Marquise Flowers, and 1 for Kyle Van Noy. So it looks like the Browns may have blown a lead in the fourth quarter, so they had 10. Looked like they're up 17-14 against New England going into the fourth quarter. And then it looks like they're up. Yeah, I think they blew a lead pretty much in the fourth quarter, and that's how they lost that game. Pretty bad for the Browns. Looked like they could have won that one. But then the Packers-Eagles game, where the Eagles won 24-17. How'd they win that game? So looks like Carson Wentz 283 and a touchdown to pick, whereas Aaron Rodgers 276 and a touchdown. Rushing wise, 80 for Jay Ajayi and a touchdown, 27 for Darren Sproles and a touchdown as well. Receiving yards wise, who led receiving yards? 86 for Geronimo Allison, 83 for Eric Decker, 83 for Mike Wallace, 74 for Zach Ertz, 74 for Randall Cobb, and a touchdown. Then, defensively, we had 11 tackles for Josh Jones, 11 for Jack Ryan, 10 for Clinton Dix. Then, sacks, 1 sack for Mike Daniels, and 1 for Tim Jernigan. Then, interceptions-wise, 1 interception for Kevin King. Kicking, looks like Mason Crosby only missed 1 field goal, and that's about it for the kicking-wise. Then the second last game was Steelers-Jags, where the Steelers won by a field goal, it looks like. Passing, 295 for Blake Bortles, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Then Big Ben had 199 and 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Rushing-wise, we had 139 for Le'Veon Bell and a touchdown, 50 for Leonard Fournette and a touchdown, and 41 for James Conner and a touchdown. Receiving yards wise, it looks like Dede had a huge game, 128 and a touchdown, 88 for Marquise Lee, 63 for Antonio Brown, 49 for Le'Veon, 40 for Keelan Cole, and a touchdown, and that's about it. Then defensively, 9 tackles for Telvin Smith, 8 for Barry Church. Sacks wise, 1 sack for Stephon Tuitt, and picks wise, 1 pick for Artie Burns. Last game was Atlanta. The Rams, 38-31 for Rams in that game. The Rams, they had Jared Goff, 277, 4 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, whereas Matt Ryan had 259, 3 touchdown passes, 1 interception. Rushing yards wise, 59 for Todd Gurley on the day and a touchdown, and then 51 for Devontae Freeman. Receiving yards wise, who led him in that? Looks like Mohamed Sanu at 86 and 3 touchdowns on the day, whereas Robert Woods had 76 and 2 touchdowns, 71 for Cooper Kupp, 68 for Brandon Cooks and a touchdown, and that's about it. Defensively, we had 11 tackles for Mark Barron, 10 for Desmond Trufant, and sacks-wise, we had 1 sack for John Johnson III, and 1 for Devondre Campbell. Then picks-wise, we had 1 pick from John Johnson III, 1 from Desmond Trufant again, and 1 for Ricardo Allen. So conference, we have Steelers, Patriots, Rams, Eagles. Then it looks like we might have another rematch here as Patriots and Eagles in the conference championships for the respective leagues. So maybe you might have another rematch there with the Eagles and the Patriots, but there's also the Steelers and the Rams. And personally, I think the Steelers are going to win this one against the Patriots, and the Eagles are going to win this one against the Rams. So it could be a Steelers-Eagles Super Bowl there, at least for my predictions. Let's go see this. But first, we take one last week as we take a look at the Pro Bowl. So do we have any Pro Bowlers this season? That's what I'm wondering about. Pro Bowl for the NFC, we have Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Zeke, Todd Gurley, Devontae Freeman. We have the fullback. I can't even pronounce that at all. We have David Watt. We have Doug Baldwin, Mohamed Sanu the Sr., Julio Jones, Malcolm Mitchell, Randall Cobb, Taylor Gabriel, Zach Ertz. Jordan Reed made it there at tight end, not bad. Hooper, we have Peters, Smith, Wisniewski, Garland, Kels, Mack, Brooks, Zach Martin, Lane Johnson, Schrader there. Then we had Vic Beasley, Graham, Jones, Daniels, Buckner, David Irving, Clark. We have Clay Matthews, Foster, Jones, Levante David, Wright, Darius Slay Jr., Janoris Jenkins, Robinson, Earl Thomas III. We have Smith, we have Malcolm Jenkins, Janikowski, Anger, Cohen, and Hughes there at corner. Okay. Then for the AFC, we'll flip it all the way back up to here. You have Tom Brady, Big Ben, Blake Bortles, Le'Veon Bell, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon. We have, looks like Proche, Ricard, Edelman, Hopkins, D.D. Westbrook, Chris Hogan. We have Cooper. We have Keenan Allen, Gronkowski, Walker, Austin Safarian Jenkins. We have Wynn, Waddle. Then we have Norwell, Thuney, Linder, Andrews, DeCastro, Mason, Cannon, Gilbert, Khalil Mack, J.J. Watt, Flowers, Garrett. We have Myles Garrett there, 86 overall. Atkins there, 89 overall. Jackson, Edwards Jr., Dante Hightower. We have Alexander, Mosley, Williams, Vontaze Burfict, Terrell Suggs, Smith, Stephon Gilmore, Joe Hayden, Burns. We have Demarius Randall, Geathers, Jones, Eric Berry, Zane Gonzalez, Townsend. We have Patterson and Henderson. So it looks like we only had one Pro Bowler this season, and that was Jordan Reed there. Well-deserved season for him. He did pretty well as our tight end this season. And then it doesn't look like we had anything else because our team did not deserve it besides Jordan Reed there at tight end. So just as I predicted, Steelers-Eagles Super Bowl, Carson Wentz versus Big Ben. Great Super Bowl matchup right there, as the Patriots lost 31-24 in New England, and Philadelphia won 20-14 against the Rams. We'll see the New England game first. So Tom Brady, he had 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and Big Ben had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception in that game, whereas Tom Brady 242 yards passing and 279 for Big Ben. Then rushing-wise, 140 for Le'Veon Bell, 2 rushing touchdowns. James White had 21 yards rushing and 1 touchdown, and Connor had 13. Then receiving yards-wise, we had 138 from James Washington and 2 touchdowns, 126 from Edelman and a touchdown, 100 for James White and a touchdown. Then Juju had 53. We had 47 from Jordan Matthews, 33 for Antonio Brown, 24 for Chris Hogan, and so on. Then defensively, 8 tackles for Mike Mitchell, 8 for Artie Burns, and sacks-wise, we had 1 sack from Harvey Lange, and picks-wise, 1 pick for Jason McCourty. And then kicking-wise, we had 1 for 1 for each kicker with Boswell and Gostkowski, and that's pretty much about it. So we had the 31-24 final against New England, and then we had the 20-14 final for the Eagles against the Rams. So Carson Wentz, he had 208, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and Jared Goff 195 and a 38.8 passing rating and 2 picks in that game. So he had 44% completion percentage, whereas 59 for Carson Wentz. Not that good for both quarterbacks, but still, Carson Wentz sucked less, so he won pretty much. Then rushing wise, 79 for Todd Gurley and a touchdown, and 50 for Jay Ajayi, and 27 for Darren Sproles. Receiving yards wise, we had 106 for Mike Wallace and a touchdown, 71 for Brandon Cooks, 40 for Aguilar, 40 for Cooper Kupp, 27 for Darren Sproles and a touchdown. Then we had defense, 9 tackles for Raimick Wilson, 8 for John Johnson III. And sacks wise, we had 3 sacks for Aaron Donald in that game. He just feasted on Carson Wentz, but they still lost. And 1.5 sacks for Chris Long, 1 sack for Michael Bennett, 1 sack for Brandon Graham, 1 sack for Raymond Wilson, and half a sack for Barron, Rivers, Hicks, and that's about it. Then picks wise, we had 1 pick for Darby, 1 pick for Bradham, 1 pick for Roby Coleman, and 1 pick for John Johnson III. John Johnson III is a beast. I keep seeing him with all these high stats. But we'll take a look at kicking as well too. Kicking 2 for 2 for Jake Elliott, 53 yards out. Good game for him. Whereas Greg Zerloin, 0 for 1, and he missed from, it looks like, from beyond 50. Then punting wise, that's about it right there for that. Kick return wise, no touchdowns, and punt return wise, no touchdowns. So we have an Eagles Steelers Super Bowl. I'm predicting, just off those stats from last week, I think the Steelers might have the edge, but the Eagles, still a great team. I think they could probably pull off it as well. So my prediction will be 27-24 Steelers, just based on off last week. I think Big Ben and Le'Veon Bell, too good the last few weeks. Le'Veon Bell more particularly. So I think Le'Veon Bell will get Super Bowl MVP in that W, 27-24 against the Eagles. But before we do anything, it is Super Bowl week, so there's a lot of people trying to go steal the thunder from the Super Bowl when it comes to news. So there's probably some news about firings or hirings or anything like that around the NFL. So let's see some top stories recently. Is there anything at all? Let's go to all stories. How about that? So it looks like the Bills fired their head coach there, Sean McDermott there. And anything else? Andy Reid did retire, and that seems to be the only news recently around the NFL. So Andy Reid, he calls it quits, and the Bills fire their head coach. So not that good of news at all for those two people, at least. Andy Reid is a beast, though. He's a beast of head coach, so congrats to him. But we'll go and sim this week. We're going to have to do some scouting and see who wins this Super Bowl. So in Super Bowl 53, not even close at all, as the Eagles completely destroy the Pittsburgh Steelers, 24-3 en route to their second as their back-to-back Super Bowl champions this NFL season. They destroyed them in every single facet of the game, as Carson Wentz, dominant in that performance, 299 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Big Ben, 136, 0 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, and a 71.4 passing rating, whereas Carson Wentz, 125.6 passing rating for, what do you have for completion? 80% completion percentage. That defense for the Steelers was terrible. Rushing yards wise, 66 for Jay Ajayi, 60 for Le'Veon Bell in 18 attempts, so they held him down, and 10 for Corey Clement. Then receiving yards wise, we had Mike Wallace with 114 and a touchdown, 82 for Alshon Jeffrey, 62 for the cover boy Antonio Brown, 33 for Jay Ajayi and 2 touchdowns, and that's pretty much about it. Then blocking wise, who let up sacks? Alejandro let up sacks, 3 for Marquise Pouncey, and 1 for Okorafor. Then defensively, 10 tackles for Vince Williams, 9 for Nick, 8 for Joe Hayden, 8 for Bud Dupree. Then sacks wise, we had 2.5 sacks for Fletcher Cox, 2 sacks for Brandon Graham, 1.5 sacks for Chris Long, half a sack for Sidney Jones IV, and half a sack for TJ Ward. So no sack for the Steelers on that day, as Nick had the only pick in that game against the Eagles and in the entire game. Then kicking wise, 1 for 1 for Jake Elliott, 1 for 0 for Chris Boswell, as he missed from, what did he miss from? Probably beyond 50. Yep, beyond 50. Then punting wise, we had 4 punts for 180 for Jordan Berry, and 1 punt for 51 yards for Brad Nortman. Kick return wise, we had no touchdowns, and punt return wise, no touchdowns as well. So taking a look around here for Super Bowl MVP, but it doesn't seem to have one at all on the news. So I'm just going to go ahead and go on a hunch and say that Carson Wentz won Super Bowl MVP for Super Bowl 53. So not that bad at all, as the Eagles win back-to-back Super Bowls, And regardless, even though we missed the playoffs and had one of the worst records in the NFL, we still had a successful season overall from a draft standpoint. So right now for the draft, I'll take a look at our pick and see how it's going. I don't think I can actually take a look at it right now, but we do have a top 10 pick this season for the NFL draft, and that's one thing I've wanted to get was draft picks that are good. So hey, at least we could probably draft the top 10 talent there in the NFL draft this season and get a franchise-defining player, hopefully, fingers crossed. But anyway, that was the simulation up until our offseason. Next episode will be the offseason episode where we go and re-sign some players and sign some players in the free agency. So anyway, make sure to like and subscribe for more Redskins franchise mode, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.